How do you live a life that is significant without striving, meaningful in the mundane, and overcomes in spite of obstacles? Welcome to The Conversation, the Significant Life podcast with Jen and Marcus Jones.
Well, hello and welcome to the Significant Life podcast. I am really excited about this episode. We are going to talk all things generosity and women and business. I'm here with Krystal, who is an entrepreneur, is a social seller, is a brand expert. And I want to tell you a little bit more about how I know her. But first, why don't you tell us about the sunshine with your family? Give us just a little more insight to like your home and who you are and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, I grew up in San Diego. The beach is my happy place. Like my kids love it. We definitely miss it. We moved to Texas at the end of 2020, which I don't recommend for anybody.
Yeah, I watched that journey online.
Yeah, it was really hard. It was way harder than I expected. And, we'll share how you and I know each other. So we left like a huge community that was so important to us. Like I grew up with, I have 65 first cousins. It's a little fun.
Way.
Yeah, I'm Mexican.
Okay. Well, right. But I mean, are they all in San Diego?
No. They're everywhere. But growing up, they all lived in California. So we spent a lot of time together growing up. But then my siblings we're very spread apart. So we're not close, which always made me really sad. So when I had my kids, I was like, sorry, bud, to my husband, because our first child was, surprise. He was not planned. So when we had him, I was like, okay, we're going to be having these kids like close together now. So change of plans. We're going to figure this out. Because I always wanted that for my kids. So we left San Diego where we had friends that had become like family. They were very important to us. Our kids had all grown up together. 2020 just changed all that. Like, I mean, as so many of us know, it just changed the community dynamic, our whole life. And when we decided to leave, I mean, that was like the hardest decision I've ever made. And my husband never really wanted to stay in California. So he was like, yeah, let's adventure. Let's do this. And I'm like sobbing every day.
Yeah.
Every
relational.
day.
And you're like, so relational.
Oh my gosh. And then to just come in during a pandemic, like it was a really hard transition. We've now been here almost 3 years. And I feel like I am just now like, oh, this is home. Like we're going to be okay. We're going to thrive. This was a really good decision for our family, but it was hard. Like I look back and I'm like, that first year I was depressed and I didn't want to admit it. And I was trying to hide it. And I was going through it somewhat publicly because I live my life online.
So yes, I love that about you.
Like snidbits of like me sobbing one day and then, trying to be strong the next. And I think that's where I found community online after leaving my community back in California. I found them on social media,
and you made a business out of it right from there. So I do think that the difficult things in our life, the unexpected, unwanted, unknown, all the things I actually talk about in my book, Divinely Different, they actually end up being catalysts to really what is next and purposes to be fulfilled in the future that do still very much align with who you are. Because I want to say, you are beautiful at creating community online. I feel like you're generous, like your generous heart, your generous way, your multifaceted way. It comes across very clear online. And it's funny because you are multifaceted, but it's very distilled. Like I know who you are so well. And it's not because we spent time together in San Diego. I was not a part of your inner circle in San Diego. So, but you live it out so well online that I knew what to wear today. And I know most people are probably listening to this, but for anyone watching on YouTube, like I have on this shirt that we match because I know Krystal's brand palette, her color palette for her brand. It's like,
yeah. But I have branded for the situation.
It's so evident. Like, and then she gives that away, which we can talk about more about her businesses and stuff. But she gives that concept, that mindset, and even the tools for you to be identified and people to know you so well, even down to like a color that represents who you are and what you're about. But that generosity in you impacted my life in a huge difficult transition for me. Our family, it was 10 years ago, but our family had left the burbs and moved to the city because we were starting a new church from the ground up. And also I was starting a direct sales business, network marketing, whatever you want to call it, from the ground up as well, as a health coach. And that was that business decision to start this business of health coaching was to provide for our family so that we could fulfill the purpose that we had felt God had called us to in starting the church. Okay. So there's all these dynamics. And honestly, it was summertime. And I was like, okay, I need some time to actually build this business. And then I have these kids that I can't afford to put in any activities. And they were littles at the
Summer
time.
is so hard as a mom entrepreneur.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So hard.
So Krystal actually reached out. I think that I had actually spoken at a retreat at the church that you were the children's director on staff. And she's like, hey, would your kids like to come to our camp? Because we didn't have those sorts of things at our little startup church yet, those sorts of resources for kids yet, programs. And I said yes, but I was like, oh boy, okay. And in my faith, I'm like, Lord, provide, because I don't know how I would afford to put 4 kids in a VBS. And she's like, and they can just come for free. Let it be something that we do to serve you, which even in the church world is super generous of you, because churches have to, make ends meet too. And also I don't know, a church to church, sometimes there can be all these weird things like, oh, a pastor of another church is going to have their kids come to our VBS. But you were like, you weren't niching down. You didn't care about all of the little boundary lines or whatever. You were just like, hey, this is a human and another woman who's trying to do good in the world. And I have something that could help her kids that ultimately help me, because every day, those 2 summer camps, those 2 VBSs, I would go down. There was a Starbucks half a mile from the church that you were on staff at. And I had 3 focused hours of business. I swear it helped me get where I'm at today. Because having 3 focused hours.
Focused hours. We can change the world.
Seriously. No, you know this to be true as a mom that's an entrepreneur and doing all of the things. It was so generous. And so that's just who you are. And it's a part of what I want to talk about, because recently you applied something that I actually hadn't named it anything, but you did. You named it love bombing. And I think I think that's I don't know if that's really what it's called, but I'm like, this is what we're calling it.
Have you watched Ted Lasso? Do you watch Ted Lasso at all?
No.
Oh my gosh. Jen, please.
I know. Okay. Sorry. Am I culturally irrelevant?
It is my happy place. I've watched it all 3, multiple times. So one of the characters gets love bombed by a new relationship. So I didn't come up with it, but when you explained it, I was like, oh, they're love bombing. And then I sat there and I was like, wait, why aren't we all doing this? You can explain it, but that's where it came from.
Let's just give okay. Well, I want to give some context, because I want to talk about this, because you mentioned in a reel on Instagram, so we definitely have to get everybody connected to you, but you talked about how it has been, well, what did you say? And then we'll give context to love bombing. But this one concept was a part of now a new way that you are actually working your online.
So when I got certified to be a life and business coach, and I ended up kind of in the world of Instagram growth. And it catapulted me into the Instagram coach world. And I actually didn't love it. I feel like I got thrown into it and I was really good at it and I made a lot of money. And so I was like, okay, I guess I have to stay here. But after 6 months, I was like, this ain't me. This is not it. I was so not interested in the hacks and the tips and the tricks that were all floating around there. But I'm pretty good at it. I'm not gonna lie. I can like you said, I love social media and community building, but I've seen so many people burn out. It's very easy to burn out on social media. It's very easy to get frustrated. If we're also focused on the numbers and performance and growth and views and all of those things, they have such a negative impact on us. And as social sellers, as entrepreneurs who are building businesses online, if we are not protecting that space, we're going to give up. we're going to quit. Like, I think the statistic I heard at our conference was like 95% of people quit within like the first year. I was so bummed because I was like, that is a lot. That is a lot of people.
That is a lot.
It's so crazy. And so I started with Saint 6 years ago, back when like Instagram was not what it is now at all. And so now, knowing that so many people are joining to grow on social media and build it on social media, it's like, okay, if we're not protecting our space, if we're not looking at it as a place that is an opportunity, is fun, is joyful, you're gonna quit. Like, it's just facts. You're gonna give up. And so when you explained what your daughter was doing, and I was like, wait, that makes so much sense, for joy, purely for, I'm going to make someone else smile. I'm going to get to comment 2 or 3 times on one post for somebody. And what I know that does for me is I get excited because someone else is reacting to something I created. And so it's like, we created this and someone is connecting to it and someone is giving you back that, like, that energy is coming back to you. If I can do that for someone else and it takes me 2 seconds, like, why wouldn't I be doing that every single day? And
Yes.
I started doing it as soon as you talked about it. When was that? Like 2 months ago, maybe? Oh
Yeah.
my God, like,
So
I can't wait to do it every day.
Okay. So yeah, so I had noticed my kids are Gen Z. And so I have one daughter out of I have 3 daughters and 1 son, and 2 of my daughters are online, and my son just got on Instagram. He turned 16 and it was kind of like a thing. So my youngest is not yet, but my 17-year-old daughter, who's a senior, I noticed on her account, because we were just like, I follow her, and then I would see, wow, Tatum has, I would see her post and I would be like,
all these comments.
wow, she's like, and then I'd go read them, and I'm like, it would be this same few girls that would comment multiple times. And so it really refers to a behavior where individuals excessively shower their friends with affection, attention, validation, and all online on these Instagram posts and stuff. And it's a way of expressing deep friendship, support, admiration. It involves frequent liking, commenting, and sharing a post. That's the other thing that I noticed. Like, when I would go watch her stories, I would see her stories would be celebrating. Like, she wouldn't say like, woo, celebrating. That's not how they do it. They just literally, like a girl who got a scholarship for soccer to TCU or whatever, she would just share the girl's post. Or a girl that looks really cute at the beach, she would share her friend's I'm like, and I asked her, I'm like, what do you guys, you have all your friends' posts in your stories? She's like, Mom, that's what we do. We share each other's stuff. And it's really just like, they send numerous messages to each other filled with compliments and emojis and other positive expressions. And I really was like, wow, I have so much hope in the next generation, because they are at a very early age, instead of being catty and competitive, they're like, yay you, and not just like yay you in a personally, but I'm going to actually give you space on my profile. I'm actually going to give you time in my story, less showing off of me and more showing off of you. And it like really blew my mind. So just,
I love it.
When I learned, and after we had this conversation, I was like, Tatum, we got to go online and talk about this. And she was like, she's like, Mom, is it that big a deal? I said, listen, as a Gen Xer, it is a big deal. You're a millennial, I'm sure.
I'm an elder millennial. I would just like that to be on record.
Okay. Okay, well, I just found that regardless, anyone above the Gen Z, I was like, no, Tatum, that's something that we fight for, is to like, I'm trying to help other women celebrate each other. We're trying to get over our competitiveness. I'm like, even at this stage of my life, sometimes it's like, wait, what? How? We're acting 16, because that's actually how we acted when we were 16. We were not doing this is not what we were doing. So tell us more. And so anyways, we went online and did a story about it. And then you did the reel and messaged me and was like, I actually applied it to my life, my business, my online profile. Yeah. So I want to ask you a couple of questions around it, because I do think for social sellers, for people who are building anything, any woman building anything online, and then honestly, just women who are living their life online, whether because they want to show off their family photos or they want to interact with their friends, whatever reason, you have an Instagram profile. This is a good implementation. This is something to start doing now.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. So we talked about a little bit of like the emotional effects it has on you. And I think you nailed it, that we fight for this. This is not the norm, right? To like promote other women. And like, why not? Like that, it just blows my mind that why wouldn't we? It not only gives them the opportunity to be shown, but like it shows your goodness, like what you're about. It shows your values too. And I'm attracted to that 100%. Like if I see you doing that, you best believe I'm going to go follow. I'm going to love what you're doing because I can see your heart behind it. But I also would, on a strategy side, let's just add a little bit of that in there.
No, I do want to talk balancing. I have a question around balancing sincerity and strategy.
Yeah,
because
that's hard, right?
You know, we are also in an era where authenticity is highly valued. So how can an entrepreneur strike the balance between genuinely showing care for their audience and then strategically using love bombing to drive potential business goals?
I think it all goes back to like customer service. It's like if we can get back, I worked in retail for 10 years and then I worked at the church for 7 years and now I work for myself, but every single part of that has all been service based. Everything that I've done is serving. And so if we can still approach social media, our social selling businesses, entrepreneurship with a service attitude first, no matter what, that's going to show off authentically. If you mean it, if it's out of I just want to help someone today, that's going to show. And that's going to attract the right people to you because you can spot a faker. You can spot a fake real quick. And so if it's something that like, no, I really genuinely just want someone else to feel good, and I can do it by leaving a couple of emojis, by telling them they're, doing a great job, that I see them, that takes nothing. Like literally takes me 2 seconds. And so I think that is a strategy in your own business because you're showing that I approach my business out of service. I'm here to help you. I actually care about you. I sell makeup. I help entrepreneurs. This is how I do it, right? Like out of service, because I know it can help somebody. And I will say, I mean, I've been in entrepreneurship for 6 years, but the last 2 years is when I was like, oh, I can really do this. But it has taken a full 2 years for me to be like, oh, this is actually coming back. And like, I'm seeing the fruits of that labor. Like it's today there is a sale with my makeup company.
Oh, cool.
And I had great sales this morning. And that's never happened before. It's never been like when a sale launches, I've never sold, I sold $2,000 in 2 hours. Like that's crazy to me.
That's amazing. Good for
But
you.
2 years. Like I want people to know, like, you gotta do the work. And you gotta
2 years of loving on people and showing up and sharing. Well,
you have to come at it that like, it's been 2 years that I cared about you. I'm here. I'm still here. I shared my heart. I loved on you. I wanted to just help people. There have been times where I got nothing back from it. That's okay. I'm still coming in. But that's how I've always approached it. So like now, seeing that today, that like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I was like on cloud 9 this morning, but I had to take a moment and be like, oh, you've been working this for 2 years, girlfriend.
Right. Yeah.
Go celebrate.
Well,
but
that,
also,
I think that is, congratulations. That is a big deal. That is really, really big deal.
Thank you.
And I do appreciate that kind of long game mentality of, and really for me, the long game is like, keep loving on the people. And when they're ready and I do it consistently enough for people to understand I have something that could serve them in some way. When they're ready, I would be the person I think of because I have shown up in their life. I have shown up in their feed. In this instance that we're talking about love bombing, I have been interested in the things that are going on in them and the things that they're doing. And so as it relates to sort of how this love bombing has an impact on brand loyalty and engagement, because what I've just hearing you say is like, oh, people have become loyal to Krystal. So many successful entrepreneurs emphasize the importance of building a loyal community around their brand. So how do you think the practice of love bombing contributes to fostering brand loyalty and even boosting engagement, because that
Oh,
is
yeah.
that
It's
is the
huge.
goal, is connection. Like,
Mhm.
and so I look at engagement. I mean, some people like to go, well, oh, it's the numbers and I hate the numbers or whatever. I just look at it like, oh, that's who I'm really connected with.
Yeah.
I don't care as much about followers. I know that they're important. But my goal is always connections, like in the DMs, connections in comments and things like that. Cause that's people that I'm like, oh, yay. We're moving from, I think I saw you at the grocery store, to, hey, you want to have coffee?
Yeah.
And that is like, I mean, it's all online, but that same concept. And so, how do you think that this love bombing, and maybe it hasn't currently contributed, but because I know you just started doing it, maybe it has already, but how do you see it, foresee it? Because obviously you have vision, you're an entrepreneur, you're a builder, you're a pioneer. How do you think that it will foster brand loyalty and even boosting your engagement?
Yeah. I say that I've only done it for like the last month, but if I sit and think, I have in my strategy, my business strategy, I'll give you my little behind the scenes. 20 minutes every single day for the last 2 years, I have sat down and sent DMs to people who follow me. 0% of that was me pitching them anything. I go in and I watch their stories. I go in and respond to their life. I go in and I'm starting a conversation, because that's what you have to do if you want to start to get to know someone, is you have to start the conversation. So for literally for the last 2 years, every single day I set a timer, and I'm in my, whoever is currently following me, I try to find them if they have active stories, whatever they have going on, I'm cheering them on. So I'll give you a little algorithm hack. If you are starting DMs, if you are actually having a DM conversation, your story views are going to spike, because Instagram is saying, oh, someone is interested in talking to her, I'm going to show her to more people. So we actually have the control behind our numbers that people hate so much. And I'm one of those. And I remember when I started doing this, the real views, and they still do, real views mess with my head. Like, that's my number one struggle, are those darn real views. I'm like, why you real views? But I think that if we can release the frustration behind them, and like you said, focus on excitement when they're like, you see growth or you see something, or like, it's okay to celebrate that. You don't have to be so against the numbers, but don't let it give you that negative impact. Like, keep going, keep pushing through them, but celebrate them when you see something like come back. Like, that's awesome. That's a good thing to celebrate. That's exciting, because like you said, that means there's connection happening. But you have to, like, as a leader, you have to go first. You have to be willing to start a conversation. We gotta stop waiting for people to come to us. So go, like, love bomb them, and you're going to see a return. And I think with the brand, for myself, I know for me, and like just seeing the connection of the last 2 years of doing what I've been doing, is now people know, oh, Krystal will actually talk to me. Krystal actually is interested in having a conversation with me. I'm not just a number to her. I'm not just a sale. She's actually willing to be like, hey, like, what's going on? How can I help you? They'll tell me about the book they're reading, or whatever conversation they want to have. They know I'm actually going to have a conversation with them back. I'm not going to just, thanks for being here. Like, it's more than that.
Yeah. I mean, it's really a principle that my mom taught me, like, as a kid. She was like, I was Jenny then. Jenny, if you want to have a friend, then you're going to have to be a friend.
Yes.
And I have lived by that mantra. And yes, it can be intimidating at times. It's risky at times. Like, the fear of being rejected, like all of those things. But you do kind of have to go first. You got to say hi. You got to, like, what does Gen Z also says, you got to slide into the DM.
Oh, I was like, what did they say? I'm not cool. I don't know.
That's what Gen Zers say. Like, my kids will be like, Mom, he slid into my DMs. I'm like, okay, wait, what does that mean? It's just like they DM. But yes, but you did, so it's like a human concept that's just really important in building relationships. And since the world has so gone viral, I was going to say, but like online, applying some of these human concepts to the online world has actually caused me to appreciate and not be overwhelmed by social media, but more like, oh, this is just broadening my circle of connection. And so you alluded though to numbers and, all views and all the things that honestly a good entrepreneur that is building anything online, especially social sellers, or the network marketing, any of that, you really do to build beyond your own four walls. You really do have to go online with it, and you do need to measure. You do need to look because you need to go like, okay, who am I connecting with, and all of this, and so it can get at times like, oh, nobody likes me, everybody hates me, nobody sees anything, whatever. So with this whole, it impacts our well-being. It can impact our well-being. Yeah. And so while love bombing can have incredibly positive effects on business growth, as you said, and just even our own hearts and how we're showing up online, how can entrepreneurs ensure that their own well-being isn't compromised in the process? So what are some strategies, maybe even that you manage the demands of maintaining strong online connection without feeling overwhelmed or discouraged?
Yeah, I have always approached this space as something I'm going to protect. Like if I'm going to spend my time here, it has to feel good. Because again, otherwise, why am I doing this? Like we're entrepreneurs, we get to choose to be here. So I think a big thing has been the go first mentality of if I want something to happen or if I want something to come back to me, like I have to be willing to go first and do it, even if it's hard or scary. I mute people a lot. I know it feels like, I'm sorry, I might have muted you. But I mean, you have to protect your space. And then just recently, I've been like training my algorithm. So you can tell Instagram, TikTok, whatever you use, you can tell it that you don't like something. Like there's a little button that says not interested, and it will remove that type of content from your space, from your feed.
I did not know that. Yeah. That is a pro tip, Krystal.
So that's there's 3 little dots on the bottom right. You tap that and a little menu comes up and it says not interested. So you can tell it, I don't like this. I don't want to see this. I don't want this in my space. Because if the more we see something, the more we're taking it in. And we do spend a lot of time online. Like I know that, we're not supposed to scroll. We don't waste your time. I'm sorry. I love social media. I spend a lot of time online. If I'm going to scroll, I want it to be stuff that I'm like, it's filling me up. It's bringing me joy. And so I have 100, that's like within the last 6 months, I've been very specific with like, if I see something, I tell it right away. I don't want that. I don't want that in my space. So I see a lot of Taylor Swift now. I get a lot of like, which I'm not mad about. Very happy that the algorithm knows me. But it's that like, I am enjoying the content that it is bringing to me. And then it's also telling Instagram like, oh, Krystal would probably relate to these people because she likes this. So it's really funny. It's like, it does go back to like what you said, like back to when we were kids. You hang out with the people that bring you joy, that you can lift each other up, that it's literally the same thing. It's just in our phone, which I think is really cool. Like some of my best friends are in other states. And if I see them online or they share something, I send a DM and I'm like, girl, I love you. Or like, that was so good. Like, because that's, if I was in person with you at a coffee shop, I 100% would want to have a human interaction. I would not be like, hey, you want to buy some makeup right now? That's it though. Right. Like I only want to talk to you about makeup. Right. Cool. But like, that's not a human. Like we can be humans and enjoy the interaction and make social media a good place again. Like there's so much hate around it, but I'm like, I love it. And it's because I've chosen these things to make it enjoyable for myself first, which is kind of weird as a business owner. You're like, I focus so much on enjoying this space. Like my joy has come first. And then I've got to serve and love and be with other, like be in the space with other people, which is like a two-way street now. Like I get to be kind and serve and love, and it helps my business, but I also get to connect. But I've also created a space that I love and brings me joy, and the colors and the fun and the, like great. It is something that I just truly enjoy.
I actually think that is a pro tip for every business owner, entrepreneur, social seller, any way that you build your
All the
business
things.
right now, anything that you're doing, I actually think that should be key, that you actually are creating a space that you love. So then from the abundance of your own heart and the fullness, the overflow ends up impacting. And that's, hey, who doesn't want to get paid for something they're passionate about?
Right? And then
And
you're
I think
excited
that's,
to create. Like you're excited to be
Mhm.
there.
Mhm.
You know who you're talking to. Your goals are clear. What you do is clear. When you can figure all that out, I feel like the rest of the stuff is so easier, so much easier.
Yeah.
Then you're not stressed out because you're like, oh, I really enjoy this. This is really actually, I can go make 5 reels right now because I have so much fun doing it and I know what I want to talk about and I know what it's going to look like, because you've gotten so clear on your own personal joy. And that is like, when you see someone like that, you immediately want to be in their space. Like you want to be a part of whatever that person's doing, because it is contagious. That energy is contagious.
Yes. And I think that I have connected with you more. You live this out. Everything you're saying, you actually applied, because yes, we met in San Diego. And I probably engaged with you at a pickup and a drop off at those 2 different weeks that my kids did VBS. And other than that, I don't think that we really connected in person. We went to different churches. We had 2 different things. And then you moved, and we have connected more online, and actually had some pretty meaningful conversations around some pretty heartfelt stuff, that when you came on to this podcast, I was like, oh yeah, it's Krystal. Like, I mean, I even knew what to wear, because it's because it's just, I know who you are. And so anyone who says, sure, there's people out there on social media that are maybe just curating so much that they are not who they really are. But I think most of us in this era, moving forward, showing up online to serve people in our unique ability and our passion, really do want to do it in a way that creates meaningful connection and is authentic, because we want it to last. And I just also believe, like, and who knows where it will go. I currently am getting ready to launch a retreat, and as you were talking, I'm like, I want Krystal to come to my retreat, because it is. I was like, we're actually friends. And I know that sounds crazy, because right, it's like online, but I do think that it can provide that if you do the tips and the practices and live out the principles that you just laid out for all of us here today. And it actually started with love bombing. Love. So just kind of as we close out, I do want you to share. You just said you had a sale. I want you to share, like, where can they find you? Well, what do you have? What are you offering right now? What's going on?
I am, if nothing else, multifaceted.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Like I think we all are. And that's why I put in my bio, like, I refuse to niche down. We are so much more than one thing. If we could all focus on the who we connect with instead of what we're talking about, oh my gosh, you guys, that it changes the game. So yes, you can come hang out with me on Instagram. I am always there. You can find me there for sure.
What's your handle? Can you tell them your handle?
Adele. Yeah.
We'll put it in the show notes too, but
Krystal with a K, Adele like the singer, but I'm older, so I like to I was first. No, I love her. She's fantastic. But yeah, so I sell Saint makeup. It is a direct sales company. I've used the makeup for 6 years. It is fabulous. It's my first love. But I think one thing that I've learned from network marketing world is we are taught so many business things. Like, my husband is like, your knowledge is insane. And I'm like, I know, right? Like, we're in this world that we are just poured into business wise. Like, it has blown me away, the amount of things I've learned. So from being in Saint for 6 years, 2 years ago, I did launch my own coaching business, which I've learned so much from in the 2 years. It's changed, it's shifted. I pour a lot more into my team in Saint instead of one-on-one work, but there are so many different ways to get into my world, my atmosphere outside of Saint. I have a workbook that will help you with everything that we just talked about. I just launched that on Friday. So
Yay!
it's I know, I'm so excited.
Where can they go grab that?
That's in my bio, my link in bio.
Great. Perfect.
My store. It does. If you're feeling stuck or lost or you're frustrated, what I built from just my coaching experience is a workbook that you can do this on your own. Cause I know as entrepreneurs, as moms, we're busy. So I wanted to have something that was tangible for someone to really walk through. So it's called the Dreamers and Doers Clarity Workbook. So it takes you from like the dreamer side of like, where have you been? What are your strengths? What are your values? What do you want? Like all of those things. And then it shifts into the doer side, which is like all the stuff we talked about today, community building, branding, taking action, even if you're scared. Like it just, I'm really, really proud of it actually. So
Good.
that's
So
just
great.
launched, and that's probably the easiest two things that can hook you up with some makeup and I can help you build a business. Like
I love that. So
hang out.
good. So good. And for people who don't know what Saint is, if you ever have been on Instagram, and I mean, Krystal, it blows my mind. I watch every single time because I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the girls who take the different colors and they put it on their faces and then they blend it and they look like contoured supermodels by the time it's done, all in like a minute and a half reel. It's amazing. I know. It's
really
quite amazing.
It looks like everybody's always like, you make it look so easy. I'm like, I promise it is.
Yeah.
Just,
No, I believe you. I believe you. So yeah. Well, thank you so much. This has been a delight. You are a delight. And you literally are your colors. So everybody go over, you'll see her brand colors if you're not watching this on YouTube, and you just hear it. I mean, she is all the bright pinks and oranges and lovely and just exactly what you exude. So thank you. And I am going to send you an invitation to my retreat. I'm not playing around about that. I would love to have you there. So anyways, you have a fantastic day. Everybody listening, go follow Krystal. I'll make sure I get all of those details in the show notes so you can go grab her workbook, connect with her, maybe get some good makeup on sale. Thank you so much for Krystal. Let's go love bomb.